You may know him as America's first president, but George Washington had many talents, including shoe shopping. I'm Jenna, and this is Smarter News. Happy George Washington's birthday. That's the official federal holiday we celebrate today. Yes, we often refer to it as President's Day because in your state, it may officially be President's Day. In Texas, that's the case. President Lincoln's birthday is on February 12th. George Washington's birthday is on February 22nd. So it makes sense. And while we used to celebrate Washington's birthday on his actual birthday, an act of Congress moved it to the third Monday in February, and here we are today. George Washington's birthday is one of the few national holidays to honor an American. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is the other. So as we mark this very unique holiday, the birthday of our nation's first president, here's a few interesting facts for your consideration. The tradition of celebrating George Washington's birthday started before we even won the Revolutionary War, before he was even president. In fact, a newspaper in Virginia talks about marking the big day in 1779, so about 3 years after the Declaration of Independence. And George Washington himself writes about, periodic celebrations he attends in his honor over the years. In 1832, Congress took a day off to celebrate his birthday, and in 1856, Massachusetts became the first state to recognize it as a holiday. But finally, in the 1880s, an act of Congress officially made it a federal holiday, which has now evolved. There's a very interesting tradition that began in Congress on the 130th anniversary of George Washington's birth in 1862. And this tradition continues until this day. We see it every year. On his birthday, a member of the Senate will read George Washington's farewell address. This is the essay he wrote to announce he would not seek a third term in office and to map out some of his concerns for the nation and some of his reflections as well. And this farewell address you may be familiar with because when people say, George Washington, he didn't like political parties, it's mapped out very clearly here in his essay. He does several things. He warns about tribal regionalism in the country, North versus South. He warns about entanglement in foreign affairs with enemies, but also with our allies, saying that even friendly countries really want to protect their own people first. And he issues this warning about political parties. So let me just read to you this part because it's always interesting to hear. And I'm just quoting here. Political parties may now and then answer popular ends. They are likely in the course of time and things to become potent engines by which cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men will be enabled to subvert the power of the people and usurp for themselves the reins of government. With the dust still settling from an election year, I thought you would appreciate his thoughts on that. He went straight to the people with his address, by the way, publishing it in a newspaper, and the first line of his remarks are written, "Friends and fellow citizens." And that's how he said goodbye. And he also set a precedent. He solidified his legacy as a two-term president, which, by the way, did not become a constitutional amendment until the 1950s. So without that decision, who knows where we'd be? I know there are many books on George Washington's leadership, his military prowess, his philosophy, but I want to share with you 3 interesting facts I've learned in my reporting over the years that I just find fascinating. Here's one. George Washington may have been the reason that Betsy Ross was commissioned to make the first American flag. It was only recently discovered at Mount Vernon, George Washington's home, that he had hired Betsy Ross and her husband, 2 well-known upholsterers in Philadelphia, to make his bed hangings for his home in Virginia. We don't have an official receipt that Betsy made the first American flag, though it's widely believed for a good historical reason. But we do have a receipt that Washington paid her years earlier to help him interior decorate. Here's another interesting fact. It's widely known that manners and presentation really mattered to George Washington. At 14 years old, he copied by hand a well-known book at the time, 110 Rules of Civility. And you can still buy his version today. I'll put a link for you in case you want to peruse it. It includes tips that we can still use in modern times, like rule number 15, keep your nails clean and short. Or how about rule 56, associate yourself with men of good quality if you esteem your own reputation, for 'tis better to be alone than in bad company. But my all-time favorite fact about George Washington, a fact that you might consider arming yourself with for tough conversations, is George Washington shoe shopped for his wife Martha, and not just any shoes, European-made, custom designer shoes, and sent for them overseas. In fact, he knew his wife's shoe size and had an opinion. Let me read from the archives. Here's a note from George Washington himself in 1761 about an order for Martha's shoes. Quote, Those sent last year were too narrow over the instep and rather too short. He went on to say that he wanted the shoes broader in the soles and not so straight over the toes as they were last year. So if you want to encourage someone in your life to embrace more shoe shopping, this might be your chance. George Washington, the nation's first president, the commander-in-chief, a general who fought for our liberty, shoe shopped for the love of his life. It's a fact. News you can use. All the more reason to say, happy birthday, George Washington, and thank you. We'll see you soon with more quick, concise, nonpartisan, smarter news. Have a great day.